Hey everyone, it's Dave Barnett from davidcbarnett.com, blog site, YouTube channel, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify podcast, where I talk about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium-sized businesses. I'm making this recording on the road. I'm actually on vacation, and let me tell you about it because I want to talk about business, but if you go back through my YouTube channel, you'll find that I've made other recordings while I've been traveling, and what is great about traveling is that you begin to realize that things are very different when you go to different places in the world. And sometimes it can lead to new and different ideas about business or the way you can change a business or how a business could grow and develop based on borrowing an idea that you see someplace else that you think could be applicable where you live. So I flew down almost a week ago to Phoenix, Arizona. And I have a friend who's been living in Mexico for a few years, and he was going to a trade show in California, and he drove. So he picked me up at the airport in Phoenix, and we drove down. We crossed the border at Nogales, Mexico, spent the night in Hermosillo, and over the next couple of days, we spent a lot of time on the road. So we then drove from Hermosillo to Mazatlan, stayed at a beachfront hotel. It was really nice. We then went to Guadalajara and hung out in a really cool, artsy little neighborhood. Checked out some local microbrew pubs and saw mariachi bands, lots of cool street art. Then we drove to Puerto Vallarta, and then finally we arrived here in Sayulita, which is just north of Puerto Vallarta. It's a little beach town where people go surfing, and it's the little village is exactly what you would see on a postcard for a Mexican beach kind of town. And so there's little bars and restaurants along the street, places where you can buy gifts and people selling stuff on the street, etc. And while I've been on this trip, I've seen a few interesting things, but I want to start by talking about labor. So in Mexico, wages are lower, obviously, than in Canada or the United States. And one of the things that I've noticed right off, even from the first night we were here, is that the level of service that people experience in most businesses is incredibly different from what one would expect in Canada, where I live. So I'll give you an example. One of the first nights that we were here, we went to a cantina bar that had a band playing, okay? And there were people working at the door, and there were servers serving tables, and there were busboys cleaning up, and there were people working behind the bar making drinks, etc. And there were probably about 100 patrons in this establishment, and I think that there were over 30 people working, which to me was like, wow, look at all the people buzzing around, because the proprietor of the establishment can offer reasonably priced drinks. He can pay to have entertainment, and he can have a high degree of service because, of course, of the low labor rate. And I was thinking about, what if this bar were back home? What kind of experience would it be? And the truth of the matter is that there probably would be one or two people working at the door. There would be some bartenders behind the bar. There wouldn't be any servers. There might be one person trying to clean tables, and everyone would have to get up and go to the bar on their own to get their own drinks. And it's interesting because, and I know I've made many recordings about this in the past, but as people fight for things like higher minimum wage laws and things like that, the idea is that people will earn more money. But I think you can definitely see when you travel and you visit places where wages tend to be lower, that what happens as wages go up is not that people earn more money, it's that jobs are eliminated in a big way. So, it was an eye-opener for me, made me think about a few different things. As far as, business innovation, when we were in Hermosillo, we passed a motel, and it was a big building with garage doors, basically. And my buddy was telling me that at these style motel, what happens is you drive up and you basically pay for your room. Instead of giving you a key, they give you a garage door control. And so you open the garage door, you drive your car basically right into your room, and you unpack your bags and everything, and you're right there. And I immediately jumped to the idea that this was a fantastic innovation, and that this would be a big hit in Canada, because of course people could then not have their cars outside in the wintertime where they would get covered by snow and ice. And all the times where I've had to go out in snowstorms while traveling and you're trying to move your luggage into your car or get your luggage out of your car and you end up with snow on everything and things get wet. And I was thinking, wow, that would be great back home in Canada, because people would basically have a garage for their car while they have a room to stay in. And I got very excited about it. And then he explained to me that the whole idea behind the business here in Mexico, of course, is so that people can go and have, a romantic adventure, and if their partner were to drive by, they wouldn't see the car sitting outside of a motel. And so this is an example of what I'm talking about, where you can see something in another country when you're traveling that evolved or developed for a certain purpose, And so, obviously these motels with garage doors in Mexico have evolved because people want to, be unfaithful in their marriages or something. But seeing that idea could be the seed of a very successful business in a northern part of the U.S. or in Canada, where people really would be willing to pay a premium to not have to deal with their car being outside, especially if there was bad weather, right? And so I like to see those things. I like to see how things are done differently. And anyway, if you haven't, I guess the biggest thing that I want to make out of this recording, the biggest point, is that if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to be in business, it really can be valuable for you to go and travel and visit different places, go to different places, see different things, and see how things are done differently in other places, so that you can create some ideas. Because you could see something somewhere that's new to you that's going to give you a great idea about how you could improve a business back home, improve your own business, or even to buy a business that isn't doing so well and have an idea of how you could improve it. And for everyone who sent me messages saying that driving from Arizona down to the bottom part of Mexico is somehow dangerous or what have you because of the narco traffickers and stuff, what I've come to realize is that it's the same as saying you shouldn't drive through the province of Quebec because there are Hell's Angels there. We did not see anything to do with any criminals anywhere. It was just basically driving on a highway. There were buses, there were trucks, there were other cars. We had to stop and pay tolls. We stopped for gas. People were all very friendly, everyone that we met. And to the point about labor, almost every gas station we stopped at was full serve. So we just pulled up and they filled the gas for us, again, because the owners are able to offer that higher level of service. And the only, I think, instance where we had anything related to what's going on here as far as drug trade is when we passed from Sonora State into Sinaloa. We actually went through a police checkpoint where they were checking cars for people that were transporting guns and weapons. And that was the only time we ever really talked to the police since we've been here. Anyway, I'm having a great time. It's beautiful here. I would recommend to anyone who's looking for a bit of an adventure and wants to see some beautiful, beautiful countryside to consider doing a trip like I have. It's really been amazing. The vistas, seeing the farmland, the places, the valleys where they raise the blue agave for making tequila. I was able to drive through all of this stuff, and it's really been an awesome time. And with that, I'll say see you later, and remind you, of course, that if you want to own your own business and you don't want to go through the risk of starting something,